again. So this is episode 3, and this is about joy. And so one of the things that I have learned through the great mothers of history is that you are God to your children. Just remember, even though you present God and you talk about God, your children will see you in the place of God for many years. So if you would like to raise your children to love God and to obey God and to worship Him, then my suggestion is you be a good God to them. Don't set children up in a situation that they're going to have to relearn who God is in their teenage or adult years. One of the greatest ways to keep your children in the church and loving Christ is for their parents to be wonderful, for their children to admire, and I would even say be a hero. If they're your children, you can be a hero to your children. They're going to be most likely to stay in the church. Now, there's multiple ways you can do this. One of the things I think is really sad in today's world is that children do not get to see what their fathers do. Most, it used to be that children could see their dads, when it was an agricultural age, and children went out with their fathers and worked in the fields, and they saw their fathers being smart, and they saw their fathers being strong, and the work and the sweat for them. So I just think we now have, because of our civilization, the children don't get to see the dad working hard for them. You can tell your children about it, but it's so much more effective if they can see it. They've got to see their dad being superhero, and specifically not to buy them things, but being a superhero just to save them, to give them the necessities in life. Children are not going to see a father as a superhero. They may think your dad's so much fun and your dad worked extra hard to be able to take him to Disneyland, but there's a difference. When their children, they're going to love their dad, but if you want respect, you need your children to see you sacrificing for their necessities and for mom's necessities. And so that's, something as they grow, if they could just see you at work, working hard, not just twiddling thumbs, they need to actually see that. Okay, so put that aside. Parenting is going to sanctify you. That's one of the things that God set up for us to be sanctified. And we can't expect our children to be better than we are. Because if they see us as God, they're going to emulate that. So when we realize that our children are going to mimic us, we have to think very carefully, this is my opportunity to do some maturing of our own behavior. And don't just say, hey, don't do what I do, just do what I say. You don't really want to live like that. And okay, so one of the things to keep in mind is if you want your children to be disciplined, then you need to be disciplined. If you're a cross person, your children are going to start sounding cross. If you see something in your children that irritates you, it's probably they're mimicking something you do, and you are irritating, or you have the potential of being as irritating as your children are to you. I see this all the time on YouTube, where kids, it's just so funny, parents just laugh themselves sick over these children with bad language and who mimic Beyonce and who mimic very bad behavior, and they think that's hysterical, but they're just mimicking what is being put in front of them. And so put in front of your children those things that are going to help them to be holy. Be careful about the music that you listen to in front of them because they're learning the lyrics. They may not even understand. Oh, I just remember, because I grew up in a time, my dad was super careful about what we listened to, but it was just a day and age where kids listened to rock music and, you know, okay, even something like from the 1950s. It's an itsy witsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. I mean, kids are going to listen to that, and what it's like to wake up as an adult and go, I was singing those lyrics. I just now know what they mean. It's still going into your head. Put stuff in your children's head that are going to bear good fruit. And I know, see, here's the problem. I see this with so many parents. You were not cool. You were not in the cool kids when you grew up. And now you want to be cool for your own children. I'm going to be the cool dad. I'm going to be the cool mother. No, be the good mother. Be the mother who they respect and honor and love and cherish. Be the mother that they're going to want to be like. But we sometimes project onto our children those years. And I've even seen this with the cool kids. Well, I was in the cool group and I turned out pretty good. So I got to make sure my kids, get to do all the cool things that I used to do. And they focus on the athletics, and they focus on making him great at something or other so they can have self-confidence, which I'm all for. I think your children need self-confidence. I think that they do need to get into sports, but parents will substitute that for other more important characteristics you want for your children. And so just keep in mind you want to be the example that you want your children to emulate. Okay, so two other things I want to specifically talk about joy. There's so many things to learn. I know it's overwhelming, and I'm trying to make this in little bite-sized pieces. But one of the things you need to discipline yourself into is having joy in the Lord. Your children, when they mimic your joy in the Lord, that will help keep them in Christianity. Because what I see so often is parents freak out, new parents. They freak out and they think, I gotta just make sure, my children stay in. Don't do that. They are panicked because maybe they left the church when they were younger. Maybe they want to just, here's all the horrible things I did. I would be very careful about telling your children about the horrible things you did. I know I've got people who and my family members who are personalities, Christian personalities, and they kind of tell everybody their testimony and let it all hang out and things they did that were wrong, and that actually has messed up their children to some degree when it's publicly known what the bad behavior their parents did. And it can embarrass children, and it can cause suffering, even if you don't think it does. I remember in our church growing up, it was Protestant, and very often they would bring in speakers to give their testimony, and these speakers would go into deep um, confessions about what they had done growing up publicly. And oftentimes, or let me put it this way, I don't know if it was often or not, the ones I remember growing up were those people who had children in or around my age group in my school. And it caused the children to behave badly. I would notice a difference in after their parents' mistakes were made public. Whether the children knew it or not, they started to behave and distance themselves from their parents. So be very, very careful about that. Now, of course, you don't want to lie. You want to be honest with your children, but I just think you need to withhold a lot of information they're not old enough yet to understand. So you can tell your children about your love for the Lord, and you can say, you know what, I wasn't the best person. We're all sinners. Everybody's a sinner, and the Lord helped me. But I wouldn't go into too much detail about your sins. Um, let's see. So God has put parents in a situation where they have an obligation to become holy and to become sanctified so that they can be good examples to their children. Just remember, I see this a lot. I keep saying that, but it's actually true. Parents in today's world, modern parents, expect their children to be more disciplined and better behaved than they are. Um, if the parents are upset one day, their children start getting upset and mimicking them, like, don't do that, and then they get in trouble for acting just like the parent. And so just be careful about that. Don't say words you don't say. I think I've already said that. But make your home joyful. Get in a habit of making your home a joyful place. My dad, there were many years that my dad would come into all the kids' rooms and he would sing to us in the morning. Now, there are people that would not appreciate that. And I'm sure I have siblings, because there's 6 of us, that did not appreciate it. But I actually loved hearing my dad. He would open up the door, turn on the lights, flip on, and oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. And he would sing. And he has a lovely voice. And I just love that. So make some kind of tradition that you do that's a joyful tradition. And to start the day out praising the Lord and whatever you're facing. See, okay, here's my opinion. And I'm going to throw in a little theology. I think that the devil wants to destroy our joy. And so he hits us with one thing after another, back pain or money problems or, you know, people at your job that you just drive you nuts. The devil wants to just pull us down so we can't feel his joy. But my discovery in my life is, if you, in those moments, you just put your fist up and you say, I need God, I need your joy. I, in faith, take hold of your joy. And even if you still feel the aggravation, and you even can feel deep pain or depression, that you saying, I am going to act joyful. I'm going to smile and I'm going to be joyful no matter what. There's a stupid, you know, smile when your heart is breaking, smile. I used to, oh my goodness, I used to love that song, because I understood this is for others. Don't teach your children to get down by every little thing that happens. You have the joy of the Lord as your strength. That's one of the things the Bible says, the joy of the Lord. And so you fight depression. You fight critical thoughts. You fight irritating situations with joy. And once the devil knows, you're going to reach out to God every time those things happen. I'm not going to say that the bad things no longer happen, but his ability to control you is released. And I'm talking about having dealt with this for 40 whatever years. Just being joyful and reaching out in faith. See, that's really what a lot of faith is about, is just reaching out in faith and grabbing hold of Christ and just praying, and I'm giving this to you, Lord. I'm giving you my anger. I'm giving you my irritation. And so your children are going to see that. And it makes life worth living when you live with somebody who's joyful. Be that joy for your children. Don't be critical. Now, of course, you have to be critical of some things, and there's some things our kids need to see you being critical about. But don't let criticism help them to understand, when you criticize something, it is to heal it, to make it better, not to cause more division. When your children hear you say, Uncle so and so, he's an alcoholic, we got to stay away from him. Oh, don't. And I know that it's very easy as a new parent, or even as any parent, to want to scare your children into staying away from sin. And when they're super young, I think there's a little merit in that. You need to scare them away from sin. But there is also, you want them to mature and realize you don't want division in your home. You don't want them to grow up thinking You don't want to attract them to these other people by making them too taboo, because kids will be drawn to taboo because they want to know what's going on. They're curious. Okay. So, but what you want to do is you want to show them you are critical of Uncle, uh, Sam, because you love him and you are wanting things to not be divided, but to be healed. And you want your children, when they come to you, to say, Mom, I'm having a really rough time, or Dad, I'm having a super difficult time at this. Not so that you can just get in a fest of, just a critical fest of gossip of your family, but you want those times to be healing and learning and go, Uncle Sam does this. I disagree with it for this reason. But Uncle Sam has a lot of good things about him. And we love Uncle Sam. We got to pray for, because all of us are sinners. Let's not cast too much. Uh, and it can make your children very arrogant if you're constantly criticizing other people. So anyway, okay, one last thing and then I'm done. Keep in mind that when you speak to your children, you are prophesying over them. I have spoken to more than 3 girls that I can think of offhand who specifically told me if what they're telling is true. I, I'm just going to, I don't know. I don't know them well enough to say, yes, 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 I agree with that. But specifically young girls who said, my life changed course when my dad said, you're acting like a slut. Don't wear that. You're a slut. Do not talk like that to your daughters. You can certainly say, hey, it is my privilege as dad to say you can't go outside looking like that. You are just you're a Christian. We're, 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 of, we're of the people of God. And modesty is one of the most attractive things to good men. They're going to want a modest wife. You're going to attract the wrong men and I know you don't want to do that. Speak prophecy into them. Speak modesty into them. Speak grace into them. Speak the love of God into them. You can do that at the same time you're correcting them for wrong. And you can say, I'm sorry, I'm dad. You can't leave looking like that. We're gonna go and find you some other clothes that are you like just as much. We're gonna do it. And of course, that may not work for everybody, but you and your wife are going to have to decide how you're going to deal with your teenagers when it comes to stuff like this. Modesty, the clothes that they choose, the music they want to listen to. You kind of need to have a plan. But remember, start when they are born, speaking prophecy of good over them. And even when they do bad, say, you know what? You're going to get better. All of us fail. Don't be afraid of failing. Everyone fails. You just get back up again. And you just keep following the Lord. And you just ask forgiveness. And I think that's it. And I've got so much to say, and we'll do it over a course of many, many different episodes. And I probably will go over, certain emphasize things over and over again, which I think are extremely important. These are so far the things I see where parents are successful. This is what parents do who successfully keep their children in the faith. And don't be too discouraged if they leave for a while. Even the best parents, their kids will leave for a while. And don't be too hard on yourself. And just pray. But there are ways of putting up some pretty good hedges that keep your kids wanting to stay inside the house of God and the kingdom of heaven. And that is joy. And you being the hero that they can look up to and see a good example of God. So that's all. God bless you.